Hey guys, this week we're going to focus on annotating. So remember we talked about we're going to try to be better communicators. And the first thing really to understand how to be a good communicator is to see that in action, right? To actually see what people are good communicators and why. What are they doing that helps them be effective, and then how can I use those same things? So annotation is actually a really great way to do exactly that. We're gonna break down what is happening in this article, in the story, in the text, whatever it might be. So hopefully by now you've been taught how to annotate. I'm kind of a little bit going off that assumption. But if you have never really annotated or you don't feel comfortable with it, feel free to ask me questions or come in and get some help, and I'm more than happy to do that. But hopefully, it'll be pretty easy and quick, and so you won't really feel like you need to do that. So in the past, how we usually annotate with a pen and paper, right? And I have a little bit of an example of when I would annotate something, right? And sometimes we'll have tons of annotations, and sometimes it'll be little annotations of what it might be. In today's age, right, we're going completely digital, so we're not going to be using an actual printed out thing that we're marking up by hand. So for this week, we are going to be using Nearpod actually to do an annotation. And I will put the Nearpod code in the assignment. But what you're going to do is you're going to go to Nearpod, and I'll have all these in the actual assignment. But once you get into Nearpod, this is what you're going to see, right? And it's going to say annotate the article, look for interesting things or what the author is trying to say, anything that stands out to you or makes you have a thought. So a lot of times people like to use annotation as having this written conversation with a text. But how I view it is just a way to kind of write my ideas down as I'm reading, and also to try to understand what was the author's point, what were their ideas. So as you're annotating, just kind of think of those same things. Okay. So with Nearpod, this is kind of a fun way to annotate. And you can also, over here, which you can't see because it goes off my, can I move this? Oh yeah, I can, ha ha ha. Okay, so here you can take notes. And so anytime we use Nearpod, so we're using Nearpod, right? Because we're using all these things, we're gonna use that throughout the year and get to know them. But you can always take notes and you can save them to your Google Drive. So say you loved this and you loved some of the annotations you took and all this kind of stuff. If you click save to Google Drive, it'll automatically just save it to your Google Drive. And then you don't have to do anything else, which is kind of cool. Or if you ever like a slide or anything like that. Okay, let's move my thing back now. Okay, so down here, so you're going to click it and then it'll pull up the article. Okay, and here's like your highlight. This is like making a line. You know, maybe you're like, oh, this is really interesting. I want to make an arrow right there. Okay, and then I'm going to put my text box right here, and then I'm going to type out, here is the topic sentence, okay, or something like that, right? And I can add my little text box. That's the cool thing, is you can kind of have both those things. So you can just say, oh, that was really interesting. I just want to kind of like, oh, that was good. Have it. Or you're like, oh yeah, this was great, but I also want to remember why it was great. Why did I think that was so cool, right? So I have my text box on whatever it is, and I'm writing why it was so cool and whatever. And then shrink my text box. So I have this, right? And then I know that they're kind of linked together. So some slides, you might have a lot that you want to annotate and you think it's really cool. And maybe you won't have as much on the next slide, and that's totally fine. Okay, so then you're just gonna, when you get through each one, oh, I have to move my recording, haha, then you'll just hit submit, okay, and it says your thing's been submitted. You're like, awesome, that's so cool. And then you'll go to the next, okay, why doesn't this go away? Sorry, I'm kind of like, oh, because that's me doing it. Okay. And then you'll go to the next article thing, which will work, which somehow is not working because I have the thing up. Okay. But you'll just go through each slide. So my expectation is that you do this whole article by the end of the week. Okay. So it's really not that long of an article, but it's a little bit of a long article. So I'm giving you, though, the whole week, or remember I said no more than 3 hours to do it. So if you just want to bust it out in a day, that's great. If you decide I'm going to do like 2 slides and then go do something else, come back and do 2 slides, that's awesome. But by Friday at 11:59, because remember that's when everything's due, you're going to have completely read this article and annotated it, and then there's a question at the end of the Nearpod that I want you to answer. Okay, so that'll be the big assignment you do this week, and then I'll also post, remember that you need to have found your book this week to do, what book you're going to read this quarter, so you're going to fill that in for me, and then you'll also just do your reading log, so then by Friday you'll tell me if you've read the 40 minutes of that book. Okay, as always, please let me know if you have any questions. If you're here in class, just come ask me. If you're doing this online, just send me an email, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. Okay, hope you have a great week. Thanks.